This is Dennis Bruce. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time today. We want to go through Nomad eCommerce from a demonstration perspective and show you our solution, which is a full business to business or business to consumer e-commerce solution that is fully integrated with Dynamics 365 Business Central. Michael Bates, who's our VP of Operations, is going to walk through the application, kind of talk through some of the scenarios that we have seen with our customer base, what people look for, how we tie directly to BC from a data perspective, and how data will flow back and forth. We should be able to get a good sense for what the solution is about. Is that okay?
That sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Michael, I'll let you kind of take it from here.
All right. Hopefully everyone can see my screen okay. I've pulled up a site here called Generic Controls.
I see it now.
Okay, wonderful. So just to give you guys a little bit of background on this particular site that we built out, Generic Controls is a Massachusetts-based company that runs Dynamics Nav. I believe they're running 2013 R2. They approached us to build a site for them because they had lots of existing customers who had built large industrial units that Generic Controls builds different control module solutions for. It could be anything from a joystick to a crane to a series of button switches for an industrial conveyor belt. And these existing customers that Generic Controls has built units for needs to have the ability to visualize and see different constituent parts that made up their custom solution. They found that their sales reps were getting bogged down in conversations and phone calls around several $100 spare parts orders when they were really much more effective when dealing with customers on a $10,000 or $15,000 custom project. One of the things that I want to call your guys' attention to as I go through this demo here of the Generic Controls site is I'm going to flap through a few different other sites today, and I want you to see how different they can all look. One of the really big benefits of Nomad that we bring to the table is our ability to provide our customers a tailored and branded experience by not needing to utilize pre-existing templates or be confined by system architectural limitations around design. This is a B2B site. You'll notice as I go throughout the site and I start looking at different categories here, even though I'm not a logged in user, I am still able to see items and I can even view different product pages. The reason for that is that from an SEO perspective, it's really, really crucial to be able to, if you can, allow Google and other major search engines to run through your site, see the individual items and see details around items, even if we're not providing pricing or inventory amounts. Users can do searches on the site for the relevant parts. So if I was looking for a button, for example, I can put in a search term, and those search results will render for me. Right now, I'm getting about 30 search results just for the phrase button. The way Nomad search works is we're a full text leverage search, so I can actually find an item descriptions, item names, item numbers, even page content, relevant criteria, in this case, the word button. But I can also filter down by item attributes that have been predefined. So Generic Controls has enough data that they're able actually to tell us how each part on the site deals with different handles or joysticks in terms of compatibility. So a user with just a few clicks here can start to refine down their search listing to a very particular model and a very particular solution. And they can undo those clicks and even stack other filter options too. So if you needed something that was compatible with multiple things at once, you can actually define yourself that way as well. From a site perspective, when I actually log in as a user, we start to leverage some of the information that we're pulling out of Dynamics. As a logged in user, when I go back to one of the categories I was on earlier, you'll now see that I actually have pricing and inventory display available right at a glance. Users can also purchase right off the category level. They don't actually need to go into individual product pages unless they want more information. If I click into a product page, Nomad will actually break down for the user what their price is for one as well as for multiples. So we do support quantity-based pricing. And optionally, we can also reference their list price available. Users can store these against saved carts, which we can also call shopping lists. Users will typically use this for some sort of quoting or project bidding solution. You'll notice that this particular customer has some project bid numbers in here that they're using to store items and quantities. They can email off a link to their boss. They can view different images at different perspectives of the item, as long as you have those images. As I scroll down, we give the user a quick reference area for different item specification data, so they can see what joysticks it's compatible with, its dimensions, all of its weight information. Of particular use to Generic Controls and an example of where we can customize our solution to fit business needs. This particular customer, it was really, really important to be able to display for all of Generic Controls as parts how quickly an item would typically ship. You'll notice on different product pages, we have different numbers here. What Nomad is doing is we're looking at the sales orders inside Dynamics and we're seeing how long it typically takes for an average order that contains one of these items to ship out. And we can also tell them really quickly if it's out of stock. That message can change over to show them how quickly it'll be back in stock. And we can leverage that by looking at their future production orders and material movements inside Dynamics. Users can also reference different data points around the product. So in their case, they actually wanted to have some support download sections. A customer could go in here and they could actually look at a exploded spare parts diagram right off the product page. So we tried to make it so that all of the customers' buying patterns and focus was on the actual purchase area, which is the product page. And as I scroll down through here, we also have a related product section. A lot of people call this cross-sell, upsell. So we can include either through an algorithmic function, which is what this is, items that are similar or prudently purchased along with the other item, or you can even manually specify for us particular related products you'd like us to leverage. When I add to my cart, the user can go to their mini cart up here, view their cart page. They can enter in a postal code. Using that postal code, Nomad has a variety of shipping and sales tax integrations. We integrate with CCH, Avalara, TaxJar, and a couple others. In their case, this particular customer is using Avalara Avatax. So if I put in a zip code that had a taxable nexus, I would actually receive a tax rate that's accurate per Avalara. However, my zip code is not. Instead, I am getting some shipping rates back. We do support a variety of different shipping rate integrations. Most of our customers ends up using live rates, so whether that's UPS, FedEx, AAA Cooper, USPS, RNL, XPO, we probably have about 20 or so shipping carriers we work with. They're all pretty similar in terms of their overall architecture. We're basically taking the weights and dimensions out of Dynamics. We know because of our integration with Dynamics what warehouses they have, what warehouse we're going to use for the ship rate request. And of course, because the customer is providing a zip code or a shipping address, we also know what the ship to is, and we send off an API call to get some rates back. When I hit proceed to checkout, you're going to see, because I am an existing customer in B2C, I actually am able to see all of my information. I could technically go right down here and hit submit order without making changes if all of this was correct. However, if I wanted to change my shipping address, for instance, I can go in here and I can select a shipping address from all the addresses that are available inside Dynamics. And when I do that, it will refresh all my shipping rates. Another small customization that was done for Merit Controls is the ability for customers to enter in account numbers and carriers that Merit Controls would like us to offer their customers to use online with corresponding methods. And if I filled it out and place this order this way, that would go into Dynamics as a collect order, where we have all those details filled out ready for processing. We can also change the actual additional information screen on checkout. This is where we can capture special data points around checkout services that might be important. In this case, purchase order number is a required field. In order to place an order online, you have to have a purchase order number. I can also indicate if I want the order to ship partial or not, and I can specify any notes and instructions that might be helpful. I can pull the customer's terms out of Dynamics. In this case, these guys are net 30. If for some reason they didn't want to place their order as a net 30 order, we do integrate with a variety of different payment gateways. ChargeLogic, eBiz, Authorized.net. We probably, again, have 10 to 15 there that we work with. And that could integrate as well into your Dynamics payment methods as well. So if you have a eBiz credit card module or another system that is pulling in credit card transactions, Nomad can also populate those details for processing there as well. And if I were to hit submit order, this order would show up in Dynamics in about 10 minutes because of our asynchronous sync process. So kind of going further than just the checkout process, we do have a whole account section that we leverage an integration with Dynamics for. Probably the most important interesting thing we have here is that not only do we obviously track order updates and order integrations for web orders, we also pull in non-web orders as well. So this particular customer here has not placed a web order in a little while. If I look at this April 22nd order, this is actually an order that was placed over the phone or faxed or called in. I can see all the details around the transaction. I can see how it was paid for. I can see the ERP order number. I can even reference the purchase order here. When it was invoiced, the user is able to see at a glance how many shipped, how many actually were ordered in totality, how much they paid for shipping. And when the order was complete, we got the little notification here letting them know that it's being done processed. It should be shipped shortly. And when it did ship, we actually got the tracking number out of Dynamics and gave it to the customer for visibility purposes. And using some clever regex, we're able to send them right to the page that would show them all of their tracking detail information on the right side. All of this is searchable and printable. So if the user wants to go in here and print their invoice, for example, I get the print icon right here. It would give me a fairly nice looking print page that I could print off from my records. And we do keep this data historically. So if I go back to my account page here, and I click on the View All button, I can actually do searches by PO number, item number, order number, things like that. as well as just browse through them to find my order I'd like to use. So there's an order for 2019 for you guys to look at. Nomad is not just an e-commerce site. We also have the ability to build content pages. So on this particular site, we have a download section that gives the user the ability to view all of their product details and literature associated with it all in one place. We can also design really nice looking contact us forms. We do have quite a few Nomad sites that were actually their primary site, and Jeremy Controls were just their e-commerce store. However, I would say that most of our websites that we build these days are actually going to be using a top-level domain as their main corporate site as well, because Nomad does have the ability to include content areas and content pages. Just to kind of show you guys different ways we've approached sites, I'm going to pull over to another site here called BE Pressure. This is a customer out of Canada. They actually do not run Dynamics. They run another ERP. But just to kind of give you guys a sense for how we can design our sites, this is on the same platform as Nomad using all of the same core product features and assets. But one of the important things for them is that because their site was selling more units than parts, we designed their site to be a little simpler, have less imagery, and be really focused on the buying process for a B2B customer. And we gave them a tabular view for some of their less technically apt customers in order for them to see different data points around each product they were looking at. So instead of having a large, modern, splayed out product page like we have on Jeremy Controls, they have more of the traditional tabular view, where all their downloads are organized in a tab, as well as their related products, which we're calling accessories here, as its own dedicated tab for them to slide through. And we also give them an explicit parts diagram rather than trust them to be able to download a PDF file and absorb that. So with Nomad, we don't just do B2B sites. We've also done some B2C storefronts. I will say that B2C is not really our primary focus. Usually when we've done a B2C storefront, it's because we're doing it as a analog to another B2B site that we're building. Right in the Rain is a good example of what we've been doing lately with B2C sites. The biggest difference on our platform between B2C and B2B, aside from design, is just going to be the functionality of having a customer be able to go into a storefront and have the ability to see prices and add to their cart straight off from accessing the page. So a user on Right in the Ring can add something to their cart. They can view their cart. They can go through all the steps of checkout. The big kind of fork in the road that you'll see here is that we actually allow customers on a B2C site to check out as a guest. So a customer can go in here, enter in their guest information, provide us a brand new billing address since we have no other details on them today, and very quickly and easily get to a point where they're able to get shipping rates and actually pay for their transaction with just a few clicks. Does anyone have any questions or things I could help delve into?
Not I.
I'm good.
Great.
All right. Well, a couple of things then, just to make sure everybody understands some things. So what we're talking about is integration to the Dynamics platform, including CRM, by the way, Dynamics CRM. But you know, in reality, we're talking about on the ERP side here, having access to all the customer data, order data, item data. That way, customers can just have one place to enter that data, and then we can replicate it and show it and expose it on their site. Okay. The other thing that Michael talked about, or as you saw as we went through a couple of different sites, we look at it a custom design approach. Right. So we want to make sure that we're incorporating customers' look, their feel, their colors, their branding, everything, right? So we want it to be, as people go to the site, they just, there's no ambiguity between that site or maybe some other site that the customer has, okay? That we're not using a template and kind of jamming people into what we think a site should be. The design process is a big piece, or custom design process, actually, is a big piece of what we do, all right? Complex pricing, if they have complex pricing and it's in Dynamics, we typically then would be able to have access to it and be able to leverage that as part of what we roll out. And then from a pricing perspective, we host our solution. Everything all the costs are built into that licensing model. So that first year it's licensing and the services to get it up. But after that, it's just all the licensing as they go forward. And the licensing is based on a combination of the number of orders and or items or SKUs that we're exposing out onto the site. So it's pretty easy for a customer to understand exactly what their costs are going to be year over year to run this. All right. So there's no additional charges for hosting or anything else. It's all, it's a complete cloud solution. And It's all built into the subscription model. As you saw through the demonstration, some of the things that are going to be important conversation-wise are going to revolve around shipping, taxes, payment methods, credit card gateways. All right. And there's a whole host of those things that we support. And it's just a matter of what the customer uses and or might be looking at.